Glenn Closson. Welcome to the Social Angle Podcast.
There you go. How's it going?
It's going great. How are things down in Orlando?
Good. The weather actually is cooling down, which is kind of nice. Our daily afternoon storms are slowing up, so things aren't too bad.
Oh, nice. Yeah, things are cloudy. Things have been chilly up in the Northeast, and it's going to get colder next week too. So I like the cold weather, so I'm okay with that.
There you go.
So we have a great topic today. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about promotional products, and we're going to talk about beer, all from the perspective of a small business brewery, which is yours. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and how you got started in the craft beer scene?
Yeah, so currently I own Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company down in Orlando, Florida. We've been open about 2 years now. We had our soft opening in June of 2018 and our kind of grand opening in October of 2018. So in a few weeks, we're actually having a pretty big anniversary party. Trying to keep it as virtual as possible to keep people safe and spread it out over a whole week so we don't have a huge crowd on Saturday and Sunday. I got into craft beer back in 2010. I started home brewing. Me and my buddy just home brewed practically every day. It was pretty intense and pretty obsessive, but I mean, that obsessive hobby became into something that was a business. So I opened my first brewery in Huntington Beach, California. Operated that one for about 3 years and sold majority. And then in 2016, moved out to Orlando and started this one up.
Nice. So you're a California guy.
Yep. Born and raised.
Nice. You like living in Florida?
It's good. The community's a little different, a lot better than, California. I feel like you don't really know your neighbors and everybody's on top of each other and you still don't know them. Whereas Orlando has more of like, they have a Main Street program that, allows business owners to kind of collaborate and work together and, have a bunch of fun events that, bring the community together. So I kind of like that aspect of it.
Oh, nice. All right, so let's talk about COVID and how it's affected your business. Are you currently back at full capacity or no?
No, so state mandate still requires 50% capacity indoors, the 6 foot spacing between tables, and then obviously mask coverings and, most of the CDC recommendations. So indoors, 50%. Outdoors, we are allowed to have 100% capacity. So we do have an outdoor patio that allows us to have, some majority of people coming out. And we do have a decent sized parking lot that we have spill over, if it does get to a capacity point.
Right. And you have the benefit of living in a state that, doesn't get really, really cold. So you can have that outdoor activity.
Yeah, it's more so the heat. People enjoy some days, so it's tough to get people outside when the heat's beating down, but we're getting into the winter months, if that's a thing down here. I don't know if we use that term winter, but it definitely gets below 100 at least.
That's always good, right?
Exactly.
So how long were you guys shut down for?
Man, it was a few cycles. So luckily, we were able to pivot. I think that's the key term of the year is pivot. We ended up getting our food license. So during the first shutdown, restaurants and bars were shut down for on-premise. So we were allowed to do to-go beers. But then June 26th, they shut down bars and breweries specifically. And luckily, within a week or two, we were able to get our food license that allowed us to reopen as a food establishment. So overall, I mean, I would say us total about 4 weeks. But I mean, there was a point in end of July where they did a statistic and it was actually breweries had been shut down more days than they were allowed to be open in 2020. Just because there was that state mandate and a lot of them didn't have the resources to get the food license like we did. So about 2 weeks ago now, Monday, they finally allowed bars and breweries to open without the food permit. So slowly but surely getting back to somewhat of a normal.
What the new normal, right?
Exactly.
whatever that might be. Now you mentioned pivot, it's like one of the buzzwords of the year. But yeah, so do you also do curbside? Now that, you've transitioned to getting a food license and you're doing food now, so you're doing curbside as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, we ended up changing our POS system that was a little more curbside friendly, and online ordering really helped out. So it's arrived. It's a POS that's specifically built for breweries, so it's been a huge help on our aspect of being able to get new products online, kind of tracking inventory so that, people aren't ordering something we don't necessarily have. and just keeping up with all of that. So it's definitely been a nice program to work with, and allowed us to, people that don't quite feel safe yet to come out can still, purchase our product and get it to go.
Have you seen a lot of interest in curbside?
We have, I would say, definitely when we closed down and there was no on premise, 100% of our business was curbside or at least picking up to go beers. But more recently, I would say, 15 to 20%, depending on the week. We have a lot of regulars, and, they're honest with us that, they want to come support us and they would love to sit at the bar with us. But, they have, friends or family that they're concerned for, that they don't want to, cause an issue or, spread the virus. So understandably, they're happy that we do have the curbside, but they're definitely, wanting to come back out and enjoy hanging out at the bar again.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I miss most about my local establishments. That my wife and I are big beer people. We visit the local ones all the time. We're concerned about the pandemic. We don't. Pennsylvania, where I live, now allows for indoor eating. We're not there yet. We're not. Personally, we feel like we can still help out the local establishments by doing curbside, and we do that. At least 2-3 times a week. We're buying beer curbside. We're buying food curbside. So we're trying to help local, but at the same time we're trying to stay safe. So I totally feel for you guys. I understand from both perspective, the business owner and also from the consumer.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about promotional products. Now you have you offer merchandise on your website, ranging from branded growlers and teas to face masks and beach towels. Can you let us know what's the most popular promo item for your brewery?
Definitely hats. People love wearing hats down here. It's hard to keep those in stock. We have a few different styles of hats, so I think it kind of gives a good majority. And it's one size fits all. I think the toughest thing we find with t-shirts is that it's varying sizes, so you're always either running out of one or having too much of another, and just trying to find that balance of getting that mix and match so that you have available what is in inventory. Beach towels, they've been a great concept. We mainly got into beach towels and branded flip-flops recently, just because we did roll out to the market Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach. So we did a lot of events out there that required giving out promo and swag that was pretty specific to that. And then so those don't necessarily sell that well in-house, but they have given us a good kind of market when we do like a rollout at a resort that has a pool. Like recently, the Grove Resort over near the parks, they put on a pineapple blonde beer for us, so we did a big rollout with that and brought a bunch of towels and flip-flops for the guests, and they kind of had fun doing it with a big kind of promo on their social media with all that aspect on it.
That's cool. So you said hats were a big seller for you, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just Florida or what it is, but it's an easy design. You throw a logo on it, and people want to wear it.
Well, I'll tell you, hats are big in our industry, and they provide a big return on investment. People wear hats. When I get a hat, I wear it, and I'll wear it a lot. When a lot of people see that logo, so there's an impact on that, and then I'm glad to see that hats are good. And I'm not shocked. Florida. If I lived in Florida, I'd be wearing a hat all the time. I'm like, this fair-skinned, Irish Italian dude from the Northeast. I would be slathered in sunscreen and wearing a hat all the time.
Yeah. I think that, with the COVID hair too, a lot of people aren't getting haircuts just quite yet. So
yeah, you could tell I haven't had a haircut in 2020. So my wife keeps pushing me, hey, you got to get a haircut. You got to get it trimmed at least. And I'm like, let's see where this goes.
Exactly.
Why not?
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. So, has the merch been, has it provided you some, a boon to your business? I'm not going to say boon because nobody's getting, that big a boost from merchandise, but has it helped you in any way as far as paying some expenses and taking care of some of the little things?
I think so. The community definitely wants to keep supporting, and a lot of them have, their fridges are full to the brim of beer, so it's hard for them to, keep purchasing beer and drinking it. They're not drinking it as fast as they're buying it to support.
Sure.
It gives another outlet of revenue for sure. I think we did a pretty big event called Camp Ivanhoe. It was for our soft opening anniversary in June, and we did a week-long event where we kind of did a summer camp theme. So we sold like tie-dye kits with white branded shirts. So it's kind of cool seeing those come back because people are doing the tie-dye kit and then wearing them into the brewery, and each one's completely unique because it started as a white shirt, and then there's like various ways to tie-dye. So those came out pretty cool. We did like glow-in-the-dark frisbees, and we did s'more kits. So it's just an added value. The beer is good and fun, and it works. But giving people something to do at home with the family, and interact, and kind of burn time, I guess at this point, has been helpful, and also being synergistic with the sales at the brewery as well.
Definitely. I'm reading stories, a lot of small businesses have turned to merch to help them get through, this pandemic. Of course, merch is not going to help, you get to where you expected to be in 2020, but it's certainly helping a lot of small businesses. And it's nice to know that it's there as, a life support if you need it. So talking about, your merch game, do you work with a distributor or a consultative partner for your promo products?
So most of our branded assets, we work with 60 Agency. So they've been with us from the beginning. They kind of helped us build the concept of Ivanhoe Park, bringing back the history of Ivanhoe Park being, Central Florida's first amusement park even before Disney was, a thought. So they helped us kind of do research on that. They branded our core beers, so the can label design, and then we just kind of utilize a lot of those assets when we build out from there. We have a local company, Impress Ink, that does a lot of our printing. So they do all our embroidery, all our silk screen, things like that. So they have a Dropbox file that they can kind of sift through brands. And, when we built the flip-flops, they just kind of we have two logos. They have a shield logo and a coin logo. And they took those and kind of alternated it like you would see on a step and repeat almost. And then on the bottom, it has like a divot in it where when you step in the sand, it kind of leaves the imprint of Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company. And they were able to utilize fonts that we, maintain in our brand portfolio so that it always has that same, inside the box recognition. So those came out pretty cool.
I love that idea for the footprints. That's really cool. It's like you see them in the sand, you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And speaking of, your brand, I really like your guys' logo. Like, who designed that logo?
That was 60 Agency. So
Oh, okay.
when we originally sat down, we knew the story we wanted to tell. And then, it's like with any branding company, they kind of sit you down and there's like 50 concepts, and then you really, bring it down each time and, kind of give them a direction. But they're way better at all of that design work than I'll ever be. So it's nice being able to just kind of say what you want, and then them having that thought process of like, okay, these are the next steps. And then, here's your final three. And then from there, it just was pretty simple to kind of really hone in. And that's why we came up with the coin logo to kind of have simplicity, and then the shield logo to spell it out like Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company on there.
Right. So let's talk about your social media game. You guys have a pretty good social media game. For a small business, you do a lot. So, who runs the show there? Do you employ social media people, or is it, by committee?
So yeah, it's pretty much me. I'm a one-man band on the social media side. I've had tapper managers kind of take it over. But overall, iPhones are so technologically advanced. Portrait mode just makes it look like a professional photo. So I'll come in and, whatever beer we're releasing or whatever new product we have coming out, just take a quick picture. I'm not all into the hashtag game, but I think, just being super responsive. I'm always, unfortunately, on my phone. So it's pretty quick and easy to see when someone, replies to a comment, they like that interaction, or when they post to a story or share something, just reaching out and showing your appreciation for their local support goes a long way. And I think grassroots just grows on its own. I know Instagram, we have, over 13,000 followers just on that one platform. And, looking at the Central Florida area, I think there's only like 2 or 3 breweries that are ahead of us. And those guys have been around 6 to 12 years. So for us to be that far, into the grassroots of it in just the 2-year portion that we have has been, great to see, just because I think it is that interaction that people enjoy.
So what do you attribute all those followers to? Do you think it's just sort of like word of mouth, grassroots? Have you done any campaigns, or I'm curious. How did you get that many?
Um, I don't know. I think it's just posting consistently, giving content that people want to see. It's just, they want information. So I get it. You're scrolling through Instagram, and if it's a cool picture, you'll stop and read. But for the most part, it's just kind of, allowing our brewers to be innovative on the brewing side. So when they come up with some, fun new beer that has some cool kind of flavors to it, we can take a picture with, those specific flavors. So it's not only, trying to explain it in words, but give a photo to it so that they understand, like, oh, this beer has, coffee in it, or, blueberries, or whatever kind of beer they're going with that time. But I think it's just having that. And I think overall having, a location that has some decent foot traffic to it. So we do events here that people come to, and they're like, well, I've never been here before. And then they'll go on and follow, or a friend will tell them about it. It's just kind of coming across it that way.
Yeah, I follow a lot of breweries, and I think breweries are perfect for social media. I've always felt that way. I love looking at beer. If you were friends with me on Instagram, you would see that I post nothing but beers. And I think you know, that's very popular among the craft beer scene, even the non-craft beer scene. People love to follow breweries. And I'm glad to see that you guys have that many followers, and you haven't paid for them. You just have that from word of mouth, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your merch game with your social media. You've integrated merch giveaways into your social media posts. In fact, I have a pair of socks
Nice.
that I won from you guys last year. That's how I caught wind of you guys on Twitter. You did a giveaway, and I won. And you sent me those socks the next week, and by the end of that week, I was wearing them. And they're like one of my favorite winter socks. They're thick, and I love them. So how much do you integrate merchandise with your social media?
So I try not to do too many of those, but I mean, they have been helpful as far as like sharing. We did recently do a pretty big one because it is our second anniversary coming up. So we do have these branded like vintage Coleman coolers that we're putting out there for giveaway. And this one's through Instagram, where, if you tag us in a story, you get so many entries, and then just tag a friend. They're very complicated to track. Like right now I have a notepad going that kind of shows who shared it. So I have to like keep tracking those in notepad, letting them know like, hey, you got your 5 entries, but then I have to go and make sure I mindfully like track it there. And I mean, it's going to be a nightmare. We have over 500 comments on there, so I'm going to have to figure out how to get that in Excel. I think it's just the organization of it, because I don't want people to feel like, it's just another giveaway. This guy's going to just, pick someone random the last day when he's like, I forgot I even was doing this. So I definitely want to, show that we are putting the effort into it, so that it kind of gives that value, I think these coolers are super cool. I mean, they cost us $250 to make. So this is a pretty nice giveaway that's going to hopefully attract, more customers, because behind it is we just released our boxcar variety packs, which are 12 packs that we were able to get into like Fresh Market, ABC, Total Wine, a lot of good like big retailers that put it out there. And I mean, it's $19.99, so the price point is exactly equal at a what any macro brewery variety pack is going to be. So I think having that price point, having the giveaway, hopefully it's just going to drive sales, because I mean, the boxcar, our design work came out really nice on that. Again, it was 60 agency that put that together for us, but it's just one of those things that we started during COVID, when we saw, off premise was a big market all of a sudden, when, bars and restaurants aren't open, we can't sell beer to them. So, really kind of going towards those ABCs, Total Wines, Regency Wine and Spirits, they've all been a huge support. So giving them another product that they can sell, has just been pretty beneficial.
You got one of those coolers for me?
We'll see. You got to tag and share, man.
It's funny. You bring up a good point. What small business people are dealing with in terms of, they're wearing many hats. You're brewing, you're doing a lot of marketing, and you have to keep track of these giveaways that you're doing, because you don't have a social media team. And I think that's where the challenge comes in. People are starting to realize, social media is very powerful. We want to do it, but you want to do it well, you want to do it right. And, it's a challenge for small business people, especially now during this pandemic when, people have had layoffs and, you don't have the manpower that you once did, and your finances, are going to be in the tank in 2020, like everyone else's. So it's a challenge. I feel for you.
Yeah, so it is very, I mean, we have a great team. Like my brew staff, I don't have to worry about what they're doing back there. They're keeping up with their deadlines. Every tank is full, and we're actually to the point where we're looking at, new facility space just because we're at max capacity here, and, things are going so well that we're eventually going to have to grow into a new space. So it's all kind of good things as that goes. And, it is tiring and long hours, but I think, all my staff kind of keep a positive attitude, and that makes me want to keep going. So everybody kind of pulls their weight, and I think that's best for the whole team.
Definitely. I got to get on Instagram and get involved in that giveaway.
There you go.
So you mentioned Instagram. I'm assuming that is your network that you have the most success with.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been the most proactive. Facebook, I mean, we have a good amount of followers. It's just, to take the shortcut, I just do the pass through where you post on Instagram and then it posts to Facebook for me. So that kind of shortcut helps. I don't see it as interactive over there. We don't get as many notifications as far as likes and comments. So I think Instagram's definitely been a better outlet for, promoting what we had. Like I said, we get creative with the photos to kind of give them a visual of what the beer is going to look like. And I mean, the algorithms that they put out there are beyond me. So I just try to keep up with it and, provide content and, see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Facebook is, I think Facebook is evolving into something that's, it used to be, post pictures and stuff like that. And, it's saturated with, friends posts and ads and all that. And I think Instagram is where people are going more and more to enjoy social media. And, Facebook's become, toxic, as has Twitter. But Instagram, I've been doing this show for a while, and people, small businesses in our industry all talk about how much they love Instagram. Instagram seems to be, the best network for the return that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think we haven't spent any money on it per se, but I think our target market is definitely more so spending more time on there. So it works out.
So I have a question. Your business once brewed up pink beer for a great cause. It was for breast cancer awareness. Can you tell us a little bit about that endeavor and, what's your commitment to cause marketing? And also, did you offer merchandise with that batch of pink beer?
Yeah, so that was, I think, 2 years ago, because we actually worked with the local Making Strides of Orlando campaign, and it's one of the largest walks that they have in Orlando. I think it's second largest, right behind, we have a corporate 5K that just gets slammed out here, but they're Making Strides walk for the purpose of, the philanthropy behind it, definitely is the largest in Orlando. So I worked closely with their committee on that. We did create the pink beer and did do a portion of proceeds went back to their cause. And luckily, yeah, they offer their branded pink shirts online, and you can actually go on there and put any logo you want. And so we kind of utilized their outlet for that, where we just uploaded our logo, and then that allowed us to share a link and people could buy direct from them, which was great because they provided free shipping, and, they would do one at a time, which I know isn't the best economical way to do it. But at the same time, it's just a nice outlet that they allowed for us to not have to worry about it, but we could still kind of brand it that way.
Nice. How was the beer?
It was really good. We actually still keep it around. It's now a year-round beer. It's called Guavacation, and it's like a sour Berliner Weiss that has guava and raspberry to it.
Nice. And what gave it the pink color?
The guava and raspberry that we add to it. So during fermentation, they add a good amount of guava and raspberry, I think 40 pounds of each or something pretty crazy. But it just allows that pink hue that we were looking for.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit about beer because, I'm a beer guy. You're obviously a beer guy. And you know what? You sent me some beer. First of all, I'm going to put on, that's right. Actually, this is what I do when I ride my bike. I put your sunglasses over my regular glasses because I don't like to wear contacts. and nobody can tell. So look, I
Yeah.
got the branding. You sent me these glasses. You also sent me some beer. I'm a stout and porter guy, so I'm going to crack open this one. So tell me a little bit about your gotcha moment in your life. First, I'm going to have a sip of this beer. This is the 2-pack Porter.
Nice.
Compliments of Glenn. I'm going to have a sip here. That's good. It traveled well from Florida to Pennsylvania.
There you go.
I hope it didn't get too hot. I have a couple other beers in there, so let me take another sip.
Yeah, you got to get the full experience.
Very nice, very nice. So tell me about your gotcha moment in your life that you wanted to be, in beer for your livelihood.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, it's crazy because I look back and 2008 to 2009 was when I first started even drinking craft beer. I was actually living in Rome, Italy, which is super random, and some of my friends that were out there were saying, "Hey, there's this event where you get one ticket and then you get a drink unlimited all day," and I was like, "Yes, let's do this." And turned out it was like an Italian craft beer festival, and like I hadn't heard of craft beer. I mean, I knew a Stone IPA just because it was kind of from Southern California, blasted around there. They did well with their marketing, but I never really, my mindset wasn't like, oh wow, there's like people that do this on a small scale. You just figure Bud Light makes everything. So I ended up going to that and meeting these people that owned and brewed, and it just was amazing. Like, it was so interesting to meet these people that were doing this. And so I mean, obviously, drinking all free all day was great. But that was my first experience of craft beer. So after that, there was craft beer bars in Italy that we would try to hit, and I really started doing a lot of research into it. So when I moved back to California in 2011, that's when me and my buddy got together and found a learn how to homebrew course. And so ended up taking that, and it was only 3 days, like 3 Wednesdays in a row. And the guy that was teaching it was actually Matt Johnson, who is the head brewer of Carl Strauss, which is a pretty well-known brewery in San Diego. I figured it would be some guy that, just has been home brewing for years, but this, very reputable head brewer was taking time out of his life to, try to spread the word and educate. And so he saw me and my buddy had a passion, and we really kind of communicated after, and I ended up hiring him as a consultant to help me open my first brewery in California. So, I mean, at the time, it sounded like a great idea, but it's very capital intensive. You raise enough money for one thing, but the rule of thumb is, set a number and then multiply that by 5, and that's about what you need.
Right. So about 15 years ago, I did the same thing you did, and I started brewing my own beer at home. And it's funny, my very first batch came out amazing, and I thought, this isn't hard at all. And
Yeah.
subsequent batches came out just awful, and then, I gave up on it. I think I brewed about 5 or 6 batches. But I realized how difficult it was. I mean, I was doing ales, which are easy. You don't need refrigeration, lagers, I always wanted to brew a lager, but I'm like reading into it and I'm like, oh my God, you need like refrigeration. And so how was your first batch? Did it come out good?
So yeah, we did. We had a local homebrew shop that did like cloning kits, and the first batch we did was Nitwit from BJ's Pizza and Brew House, and it came out really good. It's a Hefeweizen. It had that perfect banana and clove taste to it, and mindset as you. We were like, wow, this is way easier than we were expecting, and we followed it to a T. And usually the first step of homebrewing is to crack a beer. But our first homebrew day, we were like, no, we want to be on our game. We want to be concentrating. Like, we were to a T, temperature-wise, time-wise, and it went really perfectly. The second through like 10th batch, yeah, it just tasted like bad Pepsi, or I don't even know like what else. Like, some of them it was tough. Like, you don't want to dump beer, so you end up like struggling while drinking 5 gallons of horribly tasting beer. But I think it was the fact that the second one, we felt so confident after our first batch of beer that we were like, all right, let's crack a beer. And then, you have 1 beer, 2 beers, because you're kind of it's research in the end, but when you're 6 beers deep and you're trying to pour hot wort through your heat exchanger into your carboy while splashing it around everywhere and like barely pitching the yeast right, I'm sure that had a factor into it. So I think it was like the 10th batch, we're like, all right, let's do this the right way again. Let's make sure we clean and sanitize properly. And, eventually we got a little bit better, and we moved on from those clone kits with the extract into actually doing all grain batches. And, it was fun, messing with different things in different stages, temperatures and times and boils, and, seeing the difference in it. And just as we were going, the beer industry was growing as well. So not only were we learning from our own mistakes, but we would go to breweries and talk to brewers there and be like, hey, what did you see? And I think our greatest resource was being able to access White Labs down in San Diego, because, they were really growing at the time. And it's cool because they have a tap room that actually uses the same base wort, but just pitches a different yeast and has a different tap line for each yeast. So you can tell the difference in what, like, the flavor profile and how much, the yeast is like the biggest part almost of a brewing a beer. Obviously color, flavor a little bit, but the yeast is just such an overpowering portion of it that, you really have to hone in on how to utilize those properly.
Yeah, you have to be very detail oriented. I learned while brewing that there's so much that can go wrong. And you have to, and the cleaning and the sanitizing is so important and crucial, and then the bottling, and there's a lot that goes into it. And it's fun to do as a side project, but to do it, as a profession, it's like you've got to be on every detail. It's got to be a detail oriented job. So kudos to you for doing that. I don't know if I could ever do that.
Yeah.
So let's talk styles. What's your favorite style? My favorite style.
Yeah, I think I lean towards IPAs. I do enjoy them. I haven't quite picked up the hazy IPA, New England IPA style. I have an appreciation for them, but a lot of them, after a few of them, they all kind of blend together to me. So I do enjoy just a basic American style, maybe a West Coast style IPA. Fully filtered so that it's not has a hazy style, but I enjoy more so the dry hopping portion of it. I do enjoy some bitterness aspect from it, but just having that nice aromatic and flavor to it, and not too much of that lingering, hop bite at the end.
Yeah, I live in the Northeast, so for the last 4 years, we've been inundated with the hazy New England style IPA, and I like IPAs. Some of the ones that are in the Northeast, like Trillium, and the Massachusetts ones, they do really good hazy IPAs, and I've had them, and it's like grapefruit juice. It's like so thick, and I appreciate those, but also like the West Coast styles. I love the like you said, the filtered, the clear ones, very clean, crisp. I appreciate the IPAs as well, but for me, like, stouts and porters are that's my go-to. Even in the summer, I'll be out on the deck, 95 degrees, drinking, motor oil. My wife's like, "What are you drinking this for?" I'm like, it's only 6%. It looks
Yeah.
like a winter beer, but it's refreshing to me.
Yeah.
So what do you like? What do you like to brew as far as styles? Like what styles are right up your alley? Same thing.
Honestly, I haven't brewed in a while. I'm definitely more on the sales, distribution, taproom, operations side of it. When I did brew more often, I would say, yeah, I enjoyed brewing IPAs because, there's so many hop varieties out there. It's fun when you can get your hands on some experimental hops that, the hop farms aren't necessarily naming just yet because they haven't really, made it into the market. So just kind of seeing, like I said, messing with boil times, when the hop additions happen, dry hopping. I think there's just so much you can really mess with on an IPA, that I think it kind of gives it a little bit of fun. You see these single hop series that breweries do, and that's the education portion that we all enjoy, giving to the consumers so they can pick up the same exact beer, but with just different single hops and be like, oh, I really get this. I can get the citrus of it, or I get the earthiness of this one. And it gives them that appreciation. Like I said, the yeast is cool to see how much of a function that has. But on the other aspect, hops have such a huge function in beer that it's cool to see that, people can really get the nose and the flavor profile from Cascade or Citra, Mosaic, whatever single hop that it's going for, but just kind of gives them that education factor of it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for experimentation in that style of beer, and I think that's what makes it so sexy, so to speak. You can come up with so many different um, recipes, and the excitement to me is like, oh, what's it going to taste like, when it actually is ready to drink. And I know some home brewers who are like, they're like that, they're like, I've got a new recipe going, and I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, and see how it comes out. And I'm fascinated because there are so many different beers um, that are evolving. I don't know if you've heard of the milkshake beers. It's very popular in the Northeast, lactose infused. You got, all kinds of fruits, vanilla. It's amazing what they're doing with beer. And there's just so much experimentation going on. So that's pretty cool. So I bent your ear long enough. I'm going to ask you two more questions. What's your favorite Ivanhoe Park Brewing beer, and what's your favorite non-Ivanhoe Park Brewing beer?
So definitely our favorite, Joyland IPA. I mean, it's an American IPA, very straightforward. It's funny coming from California and not having access to High Life back in the day. That was my mecca beer, was High Life. Like, going to beer conferences, they would ship it in, and I'd go crazy. My head brewer at my last brewery made fun of me, like how beer geeked out I got when I saw High Life. So when I moved to Florida, the mecca of High Life, I see it on 7-Eleven shelves, and I'm like, you guys have no idea how good you have it here, just because that's such a good, well done IPA. But moving out here, our head brewer has really honed in on this Joyland IPA recipe, and High Life kind of grew on me, but it almost has a harsh hop bite towards the end that some people love, but it after like 2 or 3 of them, you're like, all right, it's kind of rough. But Joyland, I mean, you could have 2 or 3 and it's just so smooth, but it has that nice, aromatic and flavor, hop profile that we're looking for. So definitely Joyland from us. Overall, I would have to say Lost Abbey Deliverance Ale is probably my top beer. I haven't had it in a while because it's tough to get, but I just know that, probably in 2013 was the first time I had it. And anytime I ever see Deliverance Ale, even if it's like $40 for that tiny bottle, I usually pick it up just because it's so well done. Tommy Arthur, has been with Lost Abbey from the beginning. So he's been doing some great stuff as far as barrel aging, souring, and all the cool stuff they do on that aspect of it. But that one, just the flavor, I mean, the raisins, and, I wish I could explain it better because it's been so long, but I know that when I do see it, I was out in California Memorial Weekend and they didn't have any, so I was kind of bummed I missed out on it. But if I ever see it, that's the one I always know, like mentally, that I'm going to grab a bottle of it at least.
Nice. Well, I'm a bourbon guy, and I'll tell you, I mean, I love Goose Island's bourbon barrel aged stouts that they release every year. Even though Goose Island sold out, to InBev, it's like, look, what are you going to do? I still think they produce a fantastic beer, and I get it every year. So bourbon barrel age, Goose Island is that's my sweet spot. So,
nice. Yep, it's a good one.
Yep. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're busy, small business owner, wearing many hats, but I'm glad that you took the time out with us to talk today. You have any final thoughts? Any parting words? You want to, promote your business?
No, just thanks for having me. I'm glad we finally worked it out. I know we both have hectic schedules right now, but we're excited. 2 years anniversary coming up, so we have a whole week long of events. We're doing a pretty cool triple IPA called Return to Joyland, and it's going to be almost an interesting concept where we're canning it really early in the morning on a Friday, and our distributor's coming in to pick it up that day and dropping it at our retail locations. So it'll be the first time in Florida anybody's ever done a same-day canning release to their retailer, because three-tiered law is tough out here, and distributors take 2 to 3 days to pick it up, take it to the warehouse, store it, pick it up, take it out to the market. So we're excited that they're willing to try this with us, and we hope it's successful.
Well, I wish I could be down there with you, but obviously things being as they are, hopefully next year we do, and I think I told you we do the ASI show Orlando every year. So I attend those every year, and ours is I think in April next year. So if I'm in Orlando next year in April, I'm coming down to visit you.
There you go. Definitely hit me up.
All right, Glenn, thank you so much for your time. For Glenn, I'm Vinny. We'll see you next time on The Social Angle.